So we're going to have a look at calculating the area of 2D shapes. So to start with the area of a triangle, we can use the formula half of AB times by sine C. Now that is if you've got A being the longest length in the triangle, B being another length of the triangle, and C being the angle between those two lengths A and B. So to remind you again, it's half AB sine C. Now, the reason this works is because B sine C is the same as the height of the triangle. So remember, the most simple formula for a triangle is half base times height. And it's basically the same thing, it's just we use the angle to work out the height. So we can also use that formula to work out the an unknown side if we've got the angle, or an unknown angle if we've got the two sides. So for example, if we were given a triangle with two sides of 8 centimeters and 10 centimeters and the area of 20 centimeters squared, we can use this information to calculate the angle between the sides as follows. So we can use the formula for the area of a triangle equals half AB sine C to tell us that 20, the area of the triangle, is equal to half of 8 times 10 times by sine C. So if we work that around a bit, we end up getting to a situation where sine C equals a half, and if we do sine minus 1 of a half, that will give us 30. So the angle C in this example is 30 degrees. So just to run through another example. So remember, the area is half AB sine C. And if we have the two sides we know are 8 centimeters and 5 centimeters, and the angle in between it is 20 degrees. In between those two lines is 20 degrees. So we can use the area equals half of 8 times 5 sine 20. And if we put that in our calculator, we'll learn that the area is 6.84 centimeters squared to 2 decimal places. So can you remember what that formula is for the area of the triangle? It's one you need to remember, so test yourself and see if you can remember it now. And hopefully you got that right. It's half of AB sine C. Now we can also need to know a formula to calculate the area of some other common 2D shapes. So the first one is a parallelogram. And the area of a parallelogram is simply the base times by the vertical height. Triangle, which we've already mentioned, can be half AB sine C, but we can also say the area is half base times the vertical height. And finally, a trapezium. Now the area of a trapezium is half of A plus B times by the vertical height. So it's a half of A and B added together times by the vertical height. So if we've got a parallelogram, for example, with a base of 8 centimeters and a height of 6 centimeters, we know that the area is the base times by the height. So if we take 8 centimeters, multiply it by 6 centimeters, we know that the answer is 48 centimeters squared. Now, if we want to work out the area of a triangle, now in the example I'm going to give, we've got a base of 8, a side of 5, and an angle between those two of 20. So remember, we can use the formula half AB sine C, and if we substitute in the values A, B, and C, that'll give us half of 8 times 5 times by sine 20. And the area overall, if we put that into our calculator, will give us 6.84 centimeters squared. And to recap, the formula for the area of the triangle of a triangle is half AB sine C. Now remember, the area of a parallelogram, if we've got a base of 10 and a height of 8, the area is the base times the height, which is 10 times 8 will give us 80 centimetres squared. And if we want to calculate the area of a triangle, but we don't have an angle, we've just got the base and the vertical height of the triangle, we can use the formula area equals half base times height. We substitute in those values. So the base in this question will be 20 centimetres and the height will be 4 centimetres. So we do a half times 20 times 4, which will give us 40 centimetres squared.